is so eager to resume being a teacher of this class. He's hanging around till the last minute before he's got to go. But next week, he will be back up here.
And I'm dragging my feet.
Ross, check Rick and I, please. Thank you. I never knew you to do that.
Rick Berg and Berg.
Substitute teacher.
I need to come sorry. I'm gonna search it on YouTube.
You what?
I'm gonna search it on YouTube. But send me the link because I don't want to watch that one.
You watch. There's a bunch of them on there. Go through and watch substitute teacher and turbulence.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, Lynn will get a kick out of that.
Okay.
Well, as we begin, I do believe I heard, as soon as I got in the door, Mary Jane has an announcement, so if you want to make it now.
Yeah, I have an announcement. I'm not gonna be here next week. And the reason I'm not gonna be here next week is my granddaughter, who is my son Tom's daughter, Brano's son, but Tom, she's skating in the roller derby in Austin next
Whoa!
week.
The roller derby.
So Grandma has to go to the roller derby.
Man, I miss the roller derby.
She is 26. She's not a kid. She's a teacher in Austin area. But
They don't wear helmets.
oh yeah, they got all the stuff. All the
They're bringing the
So,
roller
we need to pray for it.
The
It's
roller derby.
been back, but you got to look for it. It's not real.
Saturday night.
Presence is not real dominant. All right, couple of things. People who do not know me, I am Ron Mueller, and make sure you emphasize I am the substitute. So don't get a general idea how this class goes by me. Like I said, John will be back next week. Now, the way I like to start my classes, it's called a listen master. Now, all of you are probably in church, so I'll ask a few questions of how well you were listening. So, and if you do answer the question first and correctly, I have it's not just a Milky Way, it's a Milky Way in a manger.
Oh. He got into somebody's stocking.
Still stuck on Christmas. I do have a few thoughts about Christmas still. We will get into them when I start the presentation. All right, who can tell me what the opening hymn was? You are incorrect. Absolutely, you are correct. How firm a foundation. What was the first reading? What was the book of the Bible that the first reading was from?
Isaiah.
You are incorrect.
Joshua.
No.
Matthew.
No.
Mark.
It would have been Old Testament.
Oh, Genesis. Yeah. Got to go backwards. Oh,
Yes. Keep going backwards. A long way.
yeah.
You can all guess. There was the book of Jeremiah. Nobody gets that candy.
Bad gummit.
I think we all need to get
Now, in the gospel, it talked about a particular fork. Can anybody tell me what kind of fork it was? You're absolutely right.
well, one
A winnowing fork.
Oh, yeah.
Winnowing.
Oh, yeah.
She probably ought to tell me exactly what it does, though.
So it kind of helps to separate the wheat from the chaff?
You are correct. You are correct. And in a kid's sermon, what don't we do at Christmas, according to one of the kids?
Swims.
There you go. In Lonnie's sermon, what's this is an easy one. The liturgical color of Epiphany.
Why?
That's a full tie. So, next question is, then, talked about he had an encounter with a child about baptism. What was the name of the child? I heard Sherry first. Good luck. How many pints of blood have you gotten today? Good deal. Also this, what was the name of the Herod that was talked about today? The Tetrarch. We're going to talk a little bit about Herod today. What percentage of Gen Z, that's Gen 2 written down here, Gen Z percentage that don't want to attend church, never will attend church, have no clue?
11%.
11 was
10.
Sue got it?
89. 11 was.
And what was the song variation of during the offering? Who's okay. I have questions throughout the presentation and I'll give more candy away. Now, also, John's gonna be back with all the birthdays and anniversaries. He's probably got a big queue of, list of how many people we're gonna, no, you can leave it open, it's fine. And so I don't have any, I can't play the piano or nothing, so no anniversaries or birthdays today.
We could sing solo.
I don't know who's got a birthday. Does anybody want to admit they have a birthday? All right, we're gonna skip that, and we're going to go on with, today my goal is to talk about more of John the Baptist, but also where and the region of the Jordan River that we got to travel to in 2018. Now, the reason I recruited a couple people to come into my classes, they were along for the trip. They also, Sean was supposed to be here too. Sean was here. Janet went to Israel, and it helps so much to envision things when you get a picture behind it. If you're just trying to go with printed description, sometimes that may not be what really could have or was what was occurring. So let's start with a map. And well, let's first read the basic story. Jesus came from Galilee to the Jordan to be baptized by John. That's right. John tried to deter him, saying, I need to be baptized by you, and you come to me. Jesus replied, let it be so now. It is proper for us to do this to fulfill all righteousness. Then John consented. As soon as Jesus was baptized, he went up out of the water. At that moment, heaven was open, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and alighting on him. So today, more of our Israel map, we're going to be talking mainly about this region, because this is the Jordan River Valley. It flows from Mount Hermon into the Sea of Galilee, through the Jordan Valley, and into the Dead Sea. And we're going to stop at a few places along the way and describe some of the other things we saw that were related to this region. Now, the baptismal site, you might be able to see a little parking area, but that was it right there, right on the Jordan River, flowing north to south. It is very near Jericho. It's almost into the suburban sprawl of Jericho. And the reason, it's almost a straight shot across the river to the plains of Moab. Plains of Moab is where the Israelites were camped before they crossed into the Holy Land early in the story of the Exodus. And I hear we're going to have we're gonna have the Exodus as part of the sermon series coming up, which is going to be interesting to hear more about. Now today also, I'm not really gonna talk about baptism, like, must you be baptized to be saved? Hey, I heard John Reisig is going to present a whole class about that soon, so that's not what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to talk a lot about geography and the region. Now here is our Jordan River. Here is Israel, there is Jordan. And you might say, that's not very impressive. And you may be right. I was able to throw a rock across all the way to another country, all the way across the street. This is a place where they had like a gift shop where you could go get you a robe, put it on, and I bet you could have somebody baptize you if you really wanted to. Staff was on hand to help you out. They have a nice deck. And they have a couple of stair steps that go down into the water. Now on the other side was the Jordan side, the country of Jordan. But you could not go there. It was prohibited. This was the, like, our line, and you did not cross. I think I got a better, our line, and that was their line that they could not cross. You know, you could probably go underwater here and not be seen or heard, but there is an actual baptism taking place. And there really were a lot of people doing it that day. They had a constant flow of baptizers.
Was the water that really awful looking,
Yes,
muddy and murky?
absolutely.
Is it polluted or it's just dirt?
I think it's a lot has to do with the dirt. And you can see, yeah, you can see it's kind of shallow. The
What's deep in the middle?
okay, maybe that's why they got the safety.
Yeah.
You better put your Spider-Man float.
Yeah.
That may not have been where we were.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did they determine, I mean, when I looked at that map, there was all sorts of, eddies and stuff. How did they determine that was the spot?
That's probably a very good question. You're leaving it up to the people who lived in that region to carry on the story through the years. It's kind of almost like a tradition. I mean, no, there was no marker like stone engraved. This is just their site where they believed it happened. That's kind of like some of these other sites we had last week with the Church of the Nativity and things like that, and the manger. Did it really happen here? I mean, it's like, that's what you go with, because that's what you're told by the tour guide. But I don't think any of our group got in the water, did they? No. I think I have a picture of Pastor, this is Pastor Dorn here, and he was like kneeling down, getting him a sample, yeah. He also gave us a devotion there that day. Let me tell you, it was hot. It doesn't really describe the conditions there. But we were on this pavilion up there on the riverbank up a little higher, and there was also flies. And he kept swatting, he was constantly shooing the flies off. There was no doves sent from heaven. There was like flies sent from the wilderness. And it really is a mean area. It has just characteristics that are not ideal. It's really a harsh environment. That's why they said John was in the wilderness. Yes, it was the wilderness. I'm sure it was even more back in those days. Now you talk about rivers that are small and not too. Does anybody know what this is? You already got candy. That is the border between Texas and Mexico. This is the Rio Grande River. Yes, somebody built a peninsula. You can probably make a jump right into the next country. But they talk about rivers. when I was a kid, I never really realized that the Rio Grande could be that. That's it. That was when we visited that day. And you talk about places to be baptized. And sure, we have our nice Sunday morning font and everything. But I did see this picture in the past, and I dug it up yesterday. This is Houston, Texas. This is Buffalo Bio. This is a Baptist, how about that? Multi-event, special occasion for a lot of people. And you could see they didn't skimp on their outfits, man. They got like a nice attire out in the middle of the bio. And I even saw this guy up here on a bicycle, long before the bicycles trails were up there. So you're thinking, oh, well, that was when Buffalo Bio was clean and pretty and all that. And then I dug up this photo, and that's not my picture. A lot of these are, this is not my picture, but this is I-45 right here, and this is the Portland Theater right here, and that's just off to the side where they are. That's the, what's that music hall called now?
Iowa Center?
Could be. I didn't think that was it. Hobby Center. Anyway, so I was also under the impression that the Buffalo Bio there was a lot deeper. I guess it's not. And this was according to the caption I saw that a baptism had occurred right there in downtown Houston. So it can be anywhere. Again, I'm not going to say.
When was that taken?
Well, I gotta say it's not all that old because the theater was built in the late 80s and the early 90s. It could be, 10, 15, 20 years old. I don't know. I don't even know a person on there. I just know they were in you talk about some muddy water or some dirty water. Here you go.
And the water was dirty.
It's a what?
Water was really dirty.
Yeah. I guess, well, let me just move on. One more thing about Jordan River. Actually, we hear a lot about the Ten Commandments movie, and Charlton Heston's up there, he's dividing the Red Sea. Also, when Moses came to is it Moses? No, it was Joshua, when he came to the River Jordan. Read on. Now the priest bearing the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stood firmly on dry ground in the midst of the Jordan, and all Israel was passing over on dry ground until all the nation finished passing over the Jordan. So here, it's not quite as common of a verse as the Red Sea parting, but they actually stopped the water flow, Joshua, to let the Israelites cross the river valley on dry land. So it says. That was in Joshua chapter 3, verse 17, if y'all want to verify that. Now you're talking about how dirty the water was when we saw the Jordan. We didn't get ski. No, this is not my picture. When I was there, up to the north of the Sea of Galilee, there was this big mountain. I did not know it was there, Mount Hermon. And Mount Hermon's obviously got a lot of altitude to the point where lots of snow falls on it, and skiers ski the situation. Now, from there, it's actually on the border of Lebanon and Syria. It flows into Israel, into the Sea of Galilee. Well, here you can see it flowing. It's like a nice, clear creek. And it has a lot of it's tapped for irrigation. But this is kind of like the headwaters of the Jordan River. As it starts coming down from the mountain, it's also right here, you can't see it yet, I'm gonna show you a picture of it, is where there was a confrontation in Caesarea Philippi. And here, there was a temple. And it was a lot of carvings into the rock on the side of that hill. And again, this is what happened there. Jesus asking the disciples, "Who do the people say I am?" When they replied with a variety of answers, John the Baptist, Elijah, one of the prophets, Jesus pressed them further with, "Who do you say I am?" Peter spoke up, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." That statement of truth would become the foundation for Jesus' church, and it all started in Caesarea Philippi, which was right where I showed you that picture previously. Now the river flows then into the Sea of Galilee. This is in Tiberias. This is from our hotel room. When we first drove into Tiberias, it was at night, and it looked beautiful. It looked like just sparkling lights on the side of the hillside. Because it's the whole Sea of Galilee kind of reminds you sort of Lake Tahoe, because it's surrounded entirely by hills and mountains. So we were in this hotel. This was the next morning. Our room overlooked this, I heard it's a 4th century mosque. But basically the town, I mean, it could be a jewel, but it's kind of grubby actually. Honestly, anyway, you see this boat out here in the middle. You got a comment?
Well, I was just saying, yeah, it's thousands of years old, it's probably gonna be dirt.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we're on the Sea of Galilee now, and we see these boats. Well, we are on that boat. You can see that's almost 1,000 years old too. We sailed on the Sea of Galilee, and when we were on the boat, Pastor Dorn gave us Bible lessons about calming the storm and the great multitude of fish and the walking on the water. And this next slide was to show that even Janet was not walking on water. Nor was some of our other people in our group, nor was I. So. But yeah, it was kind of like, hey, you got clear water there. It's kind of, actually the depth of that lake is pretty substantial. However, they have a lot of, when we were there, had a lot of trout, so the shoreline was definitely receding. But it was really nice to be out on the lake, and right there we are just not, I mean, I could show you pictures for another time, but right there we are in Capernaum, we're just on the shores of the lake. Hi, Sean. Sean went to Holy Land also, and I used some of these are her slides that I've already shown, and some more to come. That thank you for helping.
Sure. The lake's not that big. You can see each side of the lake.
Sure, you can see the whole all sides. It's only like 5-6 miles across, and about the same, one big sort of a circle. Just south of where the sea enters into another confluence of the river is this town called Bet Shean. Now this is really a place I had never heard of till we were there. It is from, let me just go to the next slide.
That is so cool, that place.
Oh, you got to go?
Yeah.
There you go. According to the Bible, and go back, the Philistines hung the body of King Saul on the walls of Bet Shean after the battle of Gilboa. Now, back to that, we didn't hear it was on the wall. We heard he was hung up on this highest mountain so that all could see that they had defeated King Saul. The battle took place about 1010 BC, and Saul died along with his three sons, Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchijah. The Philistines cut off Saul's head, stripped him of his armor, and then hung his body on the walls of Bet-Shean. And they finally took him down, burned them, and buried their bones under a tree. But like you were saying, Betty, this was an interesting town because it was an ancient place built on the banks of the Jordan River. And here is the amphitheater that was where our pastor, I think it was Randy, you said. Randy and Sean. There's Sean right there. They were singing on stage. And we were up here on the rim of the seating. You can see the seating right here, and went all the way around in a semicircle. And what song did you sing? I remember it well.
Doxology.
The doxology, that's right. And you could hear them rather loud and clear from the rim. I think I tried to sing something else, but I couldn't figure out any words.
No, I think it was just the dox. It took him a while to figure out what to sing, but yeah.
Yeah.
He said, let's just do this.
Yeah. Now, yeah, like in the theater, sometimes people gotta go. That's I heard is the unisex bathroom. The men and women went in this facility, and you can see the custom seating. Yeah, that was it. And that was where there was a flow of water that was flowing with your stuff out the side. And I heard no partitions, but they had musicians in the bathroom to cover up any. Yeah, that's what we were told. I'm not making that up. But yeah, that's who do we got there? Oh, that was old Gary Dieterling and
You were in there.
yeah, I'm on the far corner. Anyway, but also along the way, just south of Bet-Shean and a little more toward the west is Jericho. And Jericho had a spring, and it's what they claim is, I think on here, the oldest city in the world. It's kind of written in there of the world, which it might be because it had a lot of history there. And this gives you the story of Elisha. I should have printed that out. But anyway, the people were complaining that the water was too bitter. So Elisha, according to this, threw some salt in there, and it became, anyway, less bitter. Anyway, that was a place right there at the base of the old city. Now we think of Jericho and then the Bible and the tribes of Israel marching around it once, and then another day, and then finally the walls fell down. Well, here we are kind of on the top of the old city. And really it is not that big. I mean, you could easily walk around it several times a day, so it's not as impractical as it might sound at first. But on top of that there are small ruins, and there were some boards and panels you can read about. And there's some cisterns up there, but it was kind of, I don't know, as a kid, again, I go back to how you envision things as a kid when you heard the Bible story. This isn't quite how I imagined Jericho to be, but that's what it was. And you were talking about how the Jordan River flows all the way from Mount Herman basically to right there. This little mud spot is where the river flows into the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is, they have told us, or they told us more than once, that it's evaporating or going away. And what they have also talked about is pumping water from the Red Sea into the Dead Sea. And I heard that project was going strong, but then they realized they could be pumping a bunch of algae into the Dead Sea, and it would cause it to change colors. Don't know whatever happened. We're told that, like, the country of Israel uses it for a lot of mining purposes now. And even my wife brought home a bag of salt.
Well, actually, I ordered that on Amazon when I got home. It's a really nice bag.
Okay.
See, that's how much she listens to you.
No, I think
Sean said she-
I did get some like scented stuff. I think I gave
Sean
it
has-
I brought salt from the Dead Sea. My friend's husband was able to reach and scoop up some, and I have like a big ball of salt. I should have brought it.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah, I waded in the Dead Sea and didn't have time to rinse my legs off. And we got back on the bus. I was, like a half an hour later, I was really, really sorry.
Don't go in there after you shave.
Oh,
And yes, you do float in the Dead Sea. You can try to go under, but all you have to do is lean back and you will not need a floaty. And in fact, they tell you not to float on your stomach, only on your back. And it was very easy to do. And they told you not to get it into sensitive areas and or your eyes. We did have somebody in our group that got it in their eyes and they were miserable. Yeah, but he was not happy.
They did have showers there.
Yes, you could get the shower. Sean says she stayed a long time in there.
I think I did.
You think you did?
I don't know how long.
Did you get in the water?
We were there quite a while.
What'd you
It's
think?
prettier looking than the pictures are showing there.
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely clear.
First.
the water was so blue.
Yeah, I guess it's because the sun angle and all that stuff. But yes, you will not sink in that sea.
And you can like sit in the water like you're sitting in a chair, and you just kind of bob and float. It's really wild.
That's for me. I'm finding some water. Catch me.
This is just my view from the hotel room. That was a nice resort. I wish we would have stayed there quite a while longer. Heck of a buffet. Anyway, actually I was in this pool for a lot longer than I was in the Dead Sea.
And this is actually a saltwater pool too.
I don't remember being
I
so.
thought it was saltwater.
Did you get in that? I got in there and I don't remember being.
It wasn't near as concentrated as this.
Okay. And that was not real grass, that was turf. But those were real palm trees. Interesting area. And then on our way back, y'all might have heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is actually one of the caves they found some in, but there was a tribe of Jews called the Essenes, and they just wrote all kinds of scrolls worth of biblical chapters and books of the Bible, and they are stored currently in a museum, and a lot of them are on display, but they really, but you can't read them. You have to rely on others, translators and all that, but There they are. A lot of them have deteriorated, but there they are. They're in the museum in Jerusalem there. But this is the region where a lot of them came from. And of course, right next to that caves was Masada. Now Masada was, I didn't get good pictures of it. I probably should have asked you for more pictures, but we took a cable car up to the top, and you could see where this Jewish tribe held off the Romans for so long because it was hard to get up there. The Romans actually started building a ramp up to the base of Masada, and then the legend has it that the Jewish people kind of took their own lives before the Romans came along and took them out. Now on the way to Jericho, we took a left, and from Jericho, there's like a highway that goes to Jerusalem. And the bus driver kind of got off that highway and went on this dirt road and came to this place. First, I'll go back to the dirt road. The dirt road is, in fact, there's even a museum about it, where Jesus talked about the parable of the Good Samaritan. Good Samaritan told by Jesus. The Bible's Gospel of Luke. It's about a Jewish man who was robbed, y'all all know the story, and left for dead on the side of the road. Well, this was apparently the side of the road where he was on, and how a Samaritan helps him. A Jewish man is traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho when he is attacked by robbers, stripped of his clothing, and left half dead. A Jewish priest and Levite pass by the injured man, but do not help him. The Samaritan stops and helps the injured man, taking him to an inn and paying for his care. Again, they say it happened along that road. Again, like what you were saying, are you sure? No. And also along that road, where that cross was, this is what was told to us as King David's reference for the valley of the shadow of death. And this was right at the edge of that, looking down into what is a heck of a valley, and it could be the valley of the shadow of death that was kind of referred to in the book of Psalms. Even down here, they stuck a worship center on here. This is St. George. You can probably barely see it carved into or built into the side of the valley. It's a monastery now. I heard it's not many people in the monastery. Well, that basically kind of is, we're out of the Jordan River Valley now and such. And I was going to tell Katie my next project was, I don't know if you know, but for the next 3 weeks, Jan and I are going to be in China. We're going to be on the other side of the world. And this was going to be my presentation of Lutheranism in China. There is none. In fact, there ain't not much of religion in China. No. Anyway.
Catholic Church is the diocese is run by, or heavily infiltrated by CCP.
CCP is the
Communist.
China. Anyway, if you want, I'll get you a lesson in Lutheranism in China when I get back, but I think that's about how it's going to
How
look.
long are you gonna be there for?
Well, we leave next Sunday, and then we're returning on the Sunday, the second Sunday from there.
Only gone 2 weeks.
How long does it take you to get there? You're flying, right?
You leave on Sunday and get there on Tuesday. But that's with the time change too. We're not gonna be in China the whole time though. We're gonna go to Hong Kong and then we're gonna go to Thailand too.
So are y'all on a tour or just kind of doing this on your own?
Our daughter's over there, and we're gonna, she's leaving China at the end of the school year, so she said, "You wanna come see me go now?" Cause I'm out of China at the end of the school year.
Playing this pretty quickly.
Yes, we did. This was not worked very long. Hey, I have some unfinished business, that was including my tour. I have some unfinished business from last week and, some other miscellaneous items. Told y'all I was in the Olive Wood Superstore in Bethlehem, and I think I left it hanging like, man, that is some intricate stuff, and this was an olive tree we saw in the Garden of Gethsemane. And they told us, again, according to legend and tradition, that this was nearly 2,000 years old. Now, I don't know if they were trying to get us to think that that was there at the time of Christ, but it is an old tree. And I think if it was there at the time of Christ, it would have been like a little stick. But anyway, you can see how olive is just, well, you can't see it, but there was olive droppings all over the ground. And I brought a couple home and had in good intentions to plant them and see what would happen, but good intentions, what's it called, the road? It's paved with good intentions. Hard as ever. And this is one of my favorite photos of a peach tree. And it's also an olive, and that's in the Garden of Gethsemane. And someday I hope to have some type of stained glass with that, with peace letters, and that's the goal anyway. And then you could say olive wood was used for stuff, and Charlie's not here today, but Charlie was interested in the olive wood, and that's a Jerusalem cross that we bought there in the Olive Wood Superstore. And Charlie also made the I Am the Way, the Truth, and the Life plaque. And back to one more unfinished business item. And we are in the Church of the Nativity again. Because I didn't really tell that was a lot of dust on everything. Did you notice that? Yeah. Anyway, and I did a poor job of talking about the wise men. And the original Star Trek.
Oh, it's misspelled. Original.
Original. It sure is. I didn't know it was another internet. Maybe it's just to keep copyright people off of it. But anyway, the wise man traveled first to Jerusalem. And this was Herod's palace or tower. It was actually built kind of into the wall of the old city. And from there, Herod tells them to go to Bethlehem and see this and come back and tell him about it. But they never did. And from there, he went on his terror campaign to kill the babies of Bethlehem that were under 2. Now, going back to the Star Trek thing, I also did a poor job of explaining the star. So I consulted others, much smarter than me. It has been calculated that there was a conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, but that can scarcely explain how the star went before them, until it came and stood over where the child was. Some think that it was possibly a nova, that is, a star that explodes and burns brightly for a while, but how could that fit the case? The star that the wise men saw was no doubt a distinct phenomenon, a supernatural light, which by a direct act of God went before them and pointed to the exact spot, a supernatural announcement of a supernatural birth. So, again, that's Henry Haley of Haley's Bible Handbook. Got that a long time ago. I got that with confirmation. And back to Herod's Tower. We got time left over. So, any questions, anybody?
I'm just gonna ask you,
to me. The Jerusalem star, or cross, excuse me, which I do like that. How did that come about? Do
I
you
think
know?
it refers to the all corners of the world type thing. I'm gonna have to get back with you, or else I'm just gonna be
Yeah.
guessing.
You guys remember the story? I know they talked about
Oh,
it,
did
I don't
they?
remember the story of it.
I never even heard of it until later. I think somebody went and came back and gave me one, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I never saw anything like that before.
The Jerusalem cross, known as the Crusaders' Cross, features a large central cross surrounded by 4 smaller crosses symbolizing the 4 evangelists and the spread of Christianity.
Oh, okay.
Again, the 4 corners of the earth.
Sort of right.
And that's just what the Wikipedia says.
Wikipedia.
Thank goodness for younger ones that Yeah.
Speaking of younger ones, Katie's a teacher and she gave her class an assignment one time, and we're gonna go, this is not really Bible class, this is class. So these are called wise words. I want y'all to fill in the blank. I'm gonna give you a partial statement and then you give me an answer. Birds of a feather.
Flock together.
Birds of a feather are always dirty.
I did this for Grandparents' Day, so very much the same what we're doing here. But a lot of grandparents didn't know the actual phrases, so they didn't find it as funny as I was hoping. Very disappointed.
Generation thing.
Yeah, but I know the phrases. It's like, surely these.
Okay, next wise words is a picture is worth.
1,000 words.
You are $89,000 off. Picture is worth $90,000. I got one more. And this is better late than.
Never.
Better late than early.
True.
That would be from Nalia, who's my chronically late child.
Sorry, I had more, but I was gonna save it for another time. And it says, better late than early. No, it's gonna be better early than late today, so we are kind of done. And I even finished this class with a Bible verse, because unless y'all want to talk about weather.
Are you doing any of the youth trips this summer?
I have not been told that I am needed. If I am
Yes.
I am on standby. I just, I kind of like, really, you're 60-something and I'm handling all these teen kids, and it's like,
They're not.
I mean, we had a great time the last 2 mission trips. There's gonna come a time where they ain't gonna pay no attention to me. Oh, but I had a question for Donovan today. He didn't show special because I kind of like, not ignored him last time, but I had a question for him and I didn't get the answer. So I'm gonna let Mom, in my previous Sunday school class, I was going to ask, who was the social influencer that was mentioned during the sermon? Pastor Lonnie. No, it was on my previous Sunday school.
Oh.
That was too long ago. He might remember, but
Taylor Swift. Again, John will be back next week, and I've had fun doing this. But let me tell you what, it takes a lot of time, and I appreciate. I told John, I said, man, you really gotta prep for these things. You just can't like wing it. You're gonna be left with a lot of spare time. And I want to close with reading from Jude. To him who is able to keep you from falling, and to present you before his glorious presence without fault and with great joy, to the only God our Savior be glory, majesty, power, and authority, through Jesus Christ our Lord, before all ages, now and forevermore.